Hello everybody and welcome back to another video. Today is September 10th, or at least that's when I'm uploading this video. There we go. Today we are reading His Reasons. It's a Todoroki X-Raider fanfic by AshleyH713. We are doing Season 4, Chapter 5 today. I'm sorry I've been gone for so long. Let's begin. Walking into the common area, Bakugo and Todoroki glared at each other, their school bags flung over their shoulders in an angry fashion, because they were the only two that failed the provisional license exam. That meant they had to attend extra classes over the weekend, which neither were thrilled about. It was true that the boys were less hostile towards each other now, but that was only because they shared a common interest, Amari. If she wasn't there, then it just made them have no reason to get along. Besides, hearing everyone talk about their upcoming work studies was frustrating enough without having to tolerate each other. It was honestly a recipe for disaster, although Todoroki and Bakugo quickly perked up, now seeing Amari running towards them like a small dog, excited and jumpy like they had come to know. "Hey guys, how's your extra classes going?" Yet because she was running quite fast, the girl seemed to slip on a newly washed floor, falling forward before saving herself with one foot, much to the boys' dismay. "Oh, it's okay, I'm good. Oops, I better watch myself more," she giggled to herself as the two shook their heads. Yep, same old Eri. Bakugo seemed to speak first, though, annoyed at her carefree demeanor. "Just how much of an idiot can you be? Seriously, watch where you're going, stupid." Todoroki also seemed concerned, putting his arms away since he was planning to catch her. Bakugo was right. You should be more careful. The girl didn't seem bothered, though, just replying back smoothly. "Right, sorry, I guess I'm just excited to hear how everything's going. With Endeavor training me so much, I feel like I'm missing out on important things, you know?" Bakugo didn't know. In fact, he hadn't seen his sister in days. It didn't help that they weren't in the same class anymore. Whatever, although it's nothing to break your neck over. That's when the girl leaned forward in an excited fashion, eager to hear about their lives. "So, how's it going?" The two boys looked at each other then, Todoroki answering first, but sugarcoating his response. He didn't want to mention their arguing as the girl loved her brother so much. "It's alright." Although Katsuki didn't share the same intentions, just shouting back, "Oh, shut up, half and half. Tell her the truth. The last few days have been hell. I swear, this bastard is trying to piss me off every chance he gets." Todoroki couldn't deny that fact. He didn't want her to know it. He couldn't help but find Amari's brother impossible at times. "Maybe it's because you keep making such rude remarks. I wouldn't respond if you didn't say them in the first place." That's when Katsuki got furious, reaching forward to grab the boy's shirt. He really was trying to piss him off. What did Amari see in this guy anyways? "You want to die? Say that to my face, you bastard." Although that's when they heard Amari laugh in the corner, causing the two to pull apart. "So it's going about as well as I imagined. Well, at least you two haven't killed each other yet. I should be grateful for that at least." Todoroki decided to forget about the boy then, focusing on more important matters. "How has your training with my old man been going? He hasn't been harassing you, has he?" Clutching her bag in her hands, Amari couldn't help but smile to herself. As if I'd let him do that. To tell you the truth, though, I think I've been the one harassing him. He couldn't help but smile at that, knowing how she didn't take any of his crap. Truthfully, Todoroki was against her training at first, knowing how his father was, but he couldn't deny how happy she looked because of it. Although if that scumbag ever tries to lay a hand on her, well, all bets would be off, but for now, he would endure for her happiness. "That's good to hear. Are you heading there now?" Nodding back, Amari sighed. "Yeah, I gotta work really hard if I want to make it into the hero course with you all. Just because I'm knocked down doesn't mean I can take it easy. I refuse to fall even more behind." The passion in her voice was inspiring, mostly to Bakugo, because of his house arrest following the fight along with failing his exam. The boy knew he had to catch up soon as well. as if he let his sister beat him. Just watch yourself, stupid. Like we need you pushing yourself again. Feeling the concern in his voice, Amari couldn't help but smile. Yeah, I know. Don't worry, Katsuki. I'll be careful. Now I should get going. Try not to kill each other, okay? The two boys grumbled at that, only for the girl to play her trump card, now blinking in a pleading fashion. For me. That's when they both caved, Todoroki speaking first and placing a loving hand to her cheek. Of course. It will be a feat, but I can tolerate anything for you. Even Bakugo. Although Katsuki only slapped his hand away for a second later, shaking his head in disgust. Shut up, Icy Hot. If you try to start something, though, all bets are off. Because that meant yes in both Todoroki and Bakugo's speak, Amari was now satisfied, walking towards the door with pride. Thank you two. See you later. Although her carefree attitude was about to be short-lived. Walking into his office, Amari found Endeavor seated at his desk, looking at a couple files on his desk as she approached. Hey, Endeavor, why'd you want me to meet you here today? I thought we were training. Although the man didn't seem interested in her words, closing the file next to him and stacking them in a pile. I have something else for you today, Bakugo. The man then picked up the files before reaching them out to her. I need you to drop off some paperwork to Sir Night-Eye's agency before we start. Shrugging her shoulders, Amari picked up the papers in confusion. Okay, I mean, I can do that, but are you working on something with his agency? This is the first I've heard of it. Endeavor thought for a couple of minutes, not sure if he wanted to relay this information with a girl, but knew it would come up in conversation sometime. Better to do it now, before she digs her nose in the case herself. Pushing the paper towards her, the man explained, Our agency has agreed to aid theirs in the investigation of suspicious Yakuza member... A suspicious Yakuza member that's been making the round recently. Amari then narrowed her eyes as Endeavor pulled out a phone and handed it to the girl. On further inspection, the picture displayed a young man with a strange bird mask, gloved hands, and a green and purple coat. The look in his eyes kind of made her shiver. Who was this man? She got her answer soon enough, though. His name is Chisaki Kai, and he is the second in command in his organization. Reports have seen him acting suspiciously, but since there is no evidence of crime, it's been impossible to label him as a villain. Our agency, along with others, have been assigned to keep an eye on his activity. Nodding her head in understanding, Amari frowned. So this guy is working around the system so he won't get caught. That's very clever, I gotta say. Endeavor stopped her thoughts then. Also very dangerous. That's why us heroes are keeping an eye on him. The files you are dropping off contain the certain intel we have on him. That's why I asked you to deliver them personally. Everything seemed to make sense now, the girl clutching the files tightly. Aw, Endeavor, is it because you trust me? Is that why you're giving me such an important mission? Although the man only shook his head. No, it's only because our other intern is absent today and everyone else is busy. You're the only one left. Amari's face dropped then, realizing that she wasn't special. So I was the last choice, of course. But it's okay, because that means you trust me, even as a last resort. I won't let you down, Endeavor. Yet the man didn't seem thrilled in the slightest, now focusing on other things. Just get it delivered before dark, and don't get distracted. Amari nodded her head before heading out, Endeavor watching the girl as she went. The truth was that he lied. She wasn't the last resort. In fact, that girl was the first person he asked to deliver the classified information. He just wanted to test her, to see how she'd handle working with other companies. Of course, it's not like he'd ever let her know that. After delivering the papers, Amari confirmed that Sir Night-Eye was a weird guy. The minute she told him that she was from Endeavor's agency, all the man wanted was for her to tell jokes to him. It was a really strange experience. Sighing to herself, the girl exited the doors before staring at the city ahead of her. At last, she was finally able to break away from that guy. She wondered if Endeavor would have problems dealing with him as well. Amaria then stretched out her arms only to see a familiar shade of green out of the corner of her eye, now calling out to it. Midoriya? Turning around, Deku gasped in surprise. Amari-chan, what are you doing here? That's when she pointed at the building behind her. Oh, Endeavor wanted me to drop off some paperwork for Shornide. What are you doing here? Smiling to himself, the boy beamed. Well, I'm taking my work study here, along with Mirio. It's so great to run into you. I hope everything is going okay with training. Mario was about to spawn when another voice entered the space, his joyful attitude beaming around the area. Oh, it's you! Hello, Angry One sister. So wonderful to see you again. Looking back at Mirio, the girl replied, You can just call me Amari if you'd like. And yeah, it's good to see you too. Looks like your work study has been going pretty good. The boy nodded back, giving her a thumbs up. Of course. Midoriya. Sorry. Deku here is a natural. We are just out here doing some patrolling, Gotta keep the city safe. His joy was infectious, seeping into the girl and earning a smile. Sounds great, Although Amari was cut off when suddenly a little girl with white hair appeared from the alley next to them, panting and huffing as she crashed into Deku all at once. Whoa, I'm sorry, you took a tumble. Are you okay? He reached his hand out then, causing the girl to shrink away in fear. Amari's eyes widened, and slapping Deku's hand away, something wasn't right here. Hold on. Kneeling down to her level, Deku then reached out again only for the girl to flinch, now growing closer to Amari. This girl, she was terrified for some reason. Amari then noticed the bandages around her arms and legs, putting her hands up in defensive position to show she didn't mean any harm. Hey, it's okay. He's not going to hurt you, and neither will I. See? I'm here to help. Suddenly, a male voice entered the space, causing everyone to jump at the sudden noise. You should be more careful, Eri. We don't want you to cause trouble for the heroes. Everyone turned and couldn't help but widen their eyes in fear. Now standing in front of them was the very man Amari had just learned about. Chisaki Kai. At his voice, little girl flinched again before burying her face in Amari's chest, almost scared to look in his direction. What was going on? I hope you'll forgive my daughter here. I don't know what to do with her, always playing rough and bumping into things. His eyes seemed playful, but everyone couldn't help but get a chilling sensation, Deku included. This girl was his daughter? Then why did she look so scared? Your daughter? Although just as he said that, Mirio let out a small laugh, easing the area. Sorry, that was our bad also. Come on up, buddy. We have some more patrolling to do before lunch. Deku realized what he was trying to do almost immediately, and the man was right. He couldn't bring suspicion to the case. They had to act like everything was normal. All right. Just as he was trying to raise up, Amari felt the little girl's hold tighten, like she was petrified to be alone with this man. Please don't go. Narrowing her eyes in anxiety, Amari then put a protective hand to hover over the girl before looking at Chisaki with a glare. If she's really your daughter, then why is she so scared? The man frowned then, not liking her tone. A reaction of being scolded. Amari felt a warning bell in her mind, though, sensing a sort of deja vu from Eri. What kind of scolding leaves her like this? She's all bandaged up. Do you think we wouldn't notice? That's when she felt a hand slap her on the back, Mirio eyeing her with a frown. She knew what he was trying to do, but leaving Eri with this man wasn't an option anymore for her. This child was petrified, which meant that he was probably abusing her in some way. As if she could leave this. Chisaki didn't like her defiance, though, narrowing his eyes. You're Bakugo, right? Endeavor's new trainee? How interesting. Widening her eyes, Amari replied, How do you know me? He stared at her for a couple moments, unsaid words passing through each other, before he answered light-heartedly. The news outlets seem very fond of you now. Your name has become common knowledge nowadays. That should have made her feel at ease, but unfortunately it didn't. Why did it feel like he was lying? His eyes had a sort of mockery to him as well, like he was making fun of her. Deku also seemed to share Amari's mindset, now placing a hand in front of Eri as well. Tell me, what are you doing to this girl? The man stared down at them then, a shiver going up everyone's spine. This is until he shrugged. Very well. Although, since it's a private matter, I'd prefer to discuss it where we won't be overheard. He started to walk away, expecting them to follow, although Amari could only feel the danger. Hold on, you want us to walk into an abandoned alley? How stupid do you think we are? Although she stopped when Mirio lifted her off the ground, the little girl clung to her as she was raised. All right, we'll listen to you. I'm sure this is all one big misunderstanding. Then he began to push her towards the alley, all while giving her a knowing look. They had to follow him, or the investigation would be ruined. Although it was harder to keep her cool, knowing the little girl was shaking underneath her. They reached halfway into the alley before Chisaki stopped, giving Amari a knowing look. You know, Bakugo, you seem to have attracted the attention of some very dangerous people, exposing villains, plans, and betraying others. Many are unhappy with your choices. Frowning back, Amari replied, I did what I had to do, and I'm doing the same now. Something is wrong here, and I won't let you take this girl without knowing what it is. The man only seemed amused, though. Such noble words, when just a couple months ago you were planning on killing your loved ones in that battle with All for One. Amari took a step back then, fear on her features. The media wrote that attack off, so there was no reason to bring it up now. That was all part of the plan to spy for the League. It wasn't real. Although that's when Chisaki smirked through his mask, locking eyes with the girl in a threatening manner. It was like he was playing with her. Like he knew something she didn't. Or was it? Her eyes widened then, knowing that this man had caught her lie. How did he know that her actions were real? That back then she really did try to kill her friends and family. This man was terrifying. Well, what are you trying to say? The man only shrugged, though, coaxing her more. Nothing really, just that heroes can manipulate the media well, can't they? It's an interesting theory to think about, right, Bakugo? That proved it. Somehow this man did know about her connection to All for One, and that scared her, now feeling Aries hold tighten on her leg. Deku seemed to notice her terror as well, speaking back. We are getting off topic. Tell us what you've been doing to this girl. Chisaki stopped then, throwing his hands out in exasperation. Hard to admit that you can't control your own child, but lately Eri defies me no matter what I try. Mirio laughed back at that, trying to ease the mood again. Parenting, man, sounds rough. Nodding his head, that's when the man reached down and touched his glove, threatening to take it off as he silently dared Eri to stay. Yes, children are tricky, thinking they can do whatever they want. Eri gasped in fear then, not wanting these people to die, and quickly detached herself from Amari before hurrying back with the man. Everyone found this strange, especially Amari. Hey, wait. Clinging to Chisaki's leg, the man patted her head only for the girl to flinch. Are you done with your temper tantrum now? Eri nodded her head, and Amari felt a large pit in her stomach, now stepping forward as Mirio stopped her. He couldn't have her raise any more suspicion. Bakugo, stop it. Let them go. Although Amari had other plans, no, she couldn't just let this man take her. For some reason, she felt familiar about this girl. Her eyes, they were crying out for help. Hold it right there. If you think I'm going to let you take her, then you have another thing coming to you. I don't care if you're Yakuza or whatever, just get away from her. Shaking his head, Chisaki then reached for his gloves again, just as Eri ran in front of him, shouting back with tears in her eyes to the blonde-haired girl. No, it's okay, I'm okay. You don't have to worry about me. Mari's heart broke then as the man patted her head once more. There, see? She wants to come with me. You are overreacting. Although Amari was not convinced in the slightest, seeing Mirio give her a stern look and pull her back. Sorry about that. This one can get like that sometimes. Hope you have a great day. Clicking her tongue in annoyance, she watched them go. That is until the man turned around once more, his gaze boring into Bakugo's sister with intent. By the way, why are you so intent on Eri? That's when he narrowed his eyes, malice clear in his voice. Is it because you see similarities in each other, Bakugo? Amari gasped then, feeling a slight shake enter her body. Wait, how did he know that she was sensing deja vu with that girl? Her white gown, the bandages around her arms, the look in her eyes. It seemed almost the same to herself, a long time ago. There was no way he would know that, though. Seeing the confusion in her eyes, Chisaki then lowered in voice, his next words shaking to her core and making her breathing stop. Or should I call you number 12? At that terrible name, Amari's breathing picked up. No, it couldn't be. The only ones that would know that were the villains that experimented on her. Number 12, that was her label in America. How did he know about her? What was happening? Suddenly something entered her mind then, hissing in her ear like poison, another memory, another voice. Number 12, it's time to begin. Shaking her head, the girl began to cover her ears before muttering back, "No, stop it." Chisaki seemed to enjoy her state, though, smirking under his mask before turning away. "You don't look so good. If only you had pills to help." His words were cruel and calculating, like he was toying with her. This man wanted her to know that he knew about her secrets, her pills, her past. Deku noticed her breathing and quickly put a hand to her shoulder just as the man walked off, trying to calm her down. "Amari-chan, what's wrong? Are you okay?" Although his touch didn't bring her comfort, only fitching away in fear just as Eri had done before. Don't touch me." Reeling back in shock, he then watched tears rise in her eyes. "I'm sorry, I have to go. I can't be here." Then, before he could question it, Amari ran out the alley and down the street, much to Deku's dismay. What was going on? Why did she look so afraid? Now that is thought about it, she kind of looked like Eri in that moment. They had the same kind of fear in their eyes. Leaning against a nearby wall, Amari then clutching her head in pain as a new memory made its way to the surface. Suddenly she was sitting in a large chair, strapped down as a bright light shined in her eyes, her small voice ringing out as the memory slammed into her head. Blinking back in confusion, little Amari looked towards the doctors before speaking. "Having a quirk will make my brother love me?" One doctor touched the straps of her chair before replying. "Of course, but you'll have to work really hard for that to happen. In order to do that, you have to listen to what we say, okay?" Amari nodded her head then, watching the doctor move to the other corner, now hearing him mutter to another older man, "Are you sure this is the child you recommended? She seems like she would die right away." All for One only smiled, though, locking eyes with the child. "I have a good feeling about her. The passion she has for her brother is promising. If she survives, make sure you use that." Nodding his head, the doctor opened the briefcase next to him, revealing 4 vials of bright red liquid, the color of blood. "Hopefully this one won't die instantly like the last one. They didn't even put up a fight. What a pity." All for One seemed to share his disappointment. 11 useless attempts so far. It seems no one is strong enough to survive the process thus far. Perhaps she will be different, though." The doctor only nodded his head before bringing the syringe back to the girl. Nomu blood is complicated, after all. That's when the man turned back to the girl before tapping the vial. "Number 12, it is time to begin." Using the tip of the needle, the man then injected the substance into the girl's neck before looking at his clock. "Now listen, kid. Don't disappoint us, like with your brother. If you want to be strong, then prove it." Almost immediately, the drug burned through the little girl's insides. The doctors, watching her screaming, writhe in pain with absolutely no emotion, just writing stats and data down from time to time. Mari felt like she was getting ripped apart, her chest crying out in agony she had never felt before. It was like the drug was cutting through each of her cells, one by one, changing them into something different, something not human. It became so unbearable that she found herself brokenly crying out for comfort for anyone to stop this. "Brother, please, stop it. It hurts." Although the doctor's voice returned next to her ear, cruel and low. "Your brother isn't here. He abandoned you." Shaking her head, Amari seized underneath them, suddenly wishing for her family back. "I want to go home." But once again, the man's voice coaxed her back. "Have you forgotten? You have no home. They sent you away because you were a burden on them. You don't want to be weak anymore, do you? Because if that's the case, then you can just die right here." The sensation lasted forever, Amari feeling herself growing weaker by the second as her screams turned into a drowning mess, willing her to go to sleep and give up. Although the girl knew she couldn't do that, now remembering her brother's disgusted face, how ashamed he looked to see her weak and fragile body, and the cruel words he said to her that day. No, she wouldn't give up. If she wanted to be a Bakugo, then she couldn't, because Bakugos were the strongest of them all. Snapping back into reality, Amari heaved out a breath before sliding to the floor, a sob now etched in her throat. She didn't want to remember this. The first time they enhanced her quirk, this pain that she had to go through, she didn't want to know any of it. The The pain of the memory still tore away at her chest, now fully remembering the events she had just seen. They were terrible and gruesome, Amari now silently fearing for what else she might uncover. Hugging her shaking arms, the girl cried out into her knees silently, wishing the memory away all at once. That girl, Ari? Was she experiencing this kind of thing also? Amari sure hoped not. That night, Amari stared up at her ceiling and dreaded the idea of closing her eyes and seeing another memory. It's like they were haunting her, messing with her, and making her go insane. So much so that somehow she found herself in front of her brother's door for some reason, now banging on the surface twice. Katsuki opened the object roughly, grumbling, half asleep in the process. Who the hell? Although he paused when he saw his sister in front of him for some reason. Amari, what are you doing here? Looking down at the floor for a second, Amari smiled back. Oh, I just wanted to see what was up with you. Bakugo didn't seem pleased, though, now slamming the door in her face. Go back to bed, stupid. It's too late to deal with you right now. He paused, though, when Amari reached out her hand, desperate for something. Wait, please don't go. Frowning back, the boy then crossed his arms. There was something weird going on with her. You have 5 seconds to tell me the reason why you're pounding on my door in the middle of the night, or I'm going back to bed. The girl played with her sweatshirt ties in response, muttering out something before actually thinking about her words. Could I sleep with you tonight? Her question was certainly unexpected, Bakugo now blinking in surprise. What are you, 5 years old? As soon as she heard his response, Amari began to backtrack. How could she be so stupid? Of course he wouldn't want that. She was being a baby. Sorry, forget I said that. Of course you would say now. It's okay, you can go back to bed. I'll leave you be. She tried to turn away from her own embarrassment then, only for Katsuki to grab her arm to stop her. Hold on, why in the hell would you even ask that? Did something happen? Although Amari only shook her head, thinking about the events earlier and muttering, It's nothing. Bakugo looked at his sister then, definitely sensing something wrong with her. In all the years they were together, she had never asked to sleep with him. It's like she was afraid of something that was really messing her up. Kicking his door open, Katsuki then stepped inside, only for Amari to question, What are you doing? The boy only groaned in response, though. Get your ass in here before I change my mind. The girl's eyes widened at that. He couldn't be serious. Bakugo Katsuki was actually agreeing to this? Impossible. No, that's okay. I don't want to be a trouble to you. But Bakugo had already decided, pushing her into his room roughly, so she didn't have a choice in the matter. Just shut up and get in already. I swear, you're such a pain in my ass. He slammed the door behind them as Amari looked around her brother's room before grabbing a blanket off the chair, placing it on the floor next to his bed. Sorry I'm annoying you. I promise you won't even notice I'm here. Although as she crawled onto the floor, Katsuki shook his head in annoyance. What the hell are you doing? Get off the damn floor. Amari didn't seem to understand, though. It's okay. I'm already asking for a lot from you. I'm fine here. But Bakugo wasn't pleased at her sacrifice, only feeling annoyed about it more than anything, as if he'd make his sister sleep on the cold floor when she was clearly asking for comfort. Listen here, you have 3 seconds to get on that bed before I pick your sorry ass up myself and drag you there. Twisting her features into confusion, the girl only shook her head. I told you I'm fine. You don't have to do that. Hey, what are you doing? But because she didn't listen, Katsuki reached down and quickly scooped up his sister before throwing her roughly onto the mattress. Then he grabbed one of his blankets and shoved it over her head. Just shut up already. God, you're so fucking annoying all the time. I offered for a reason, dumbass, so just be grateful and take it. Lowering the blanket to her chest, Amari then watched as Bakugo unhappily stepped over her to the right of the bed, before turning away from her and facing the wall. Now go to bed, idiot. The girl honestly couldn't believe her eyes, knowing that she was now sharing a bed with her brother. She thought she'd never see the day. Although Amari was thankful for the moment, she felt even more at ease just seeing his back facing her. Katsuki, he grumbled in response as Amari smiled under her breath, remembering something from a long time ago. This kind of reminds me of the time you stayed with me in the hospital after we marathoned all those All Might DVDs. Even though it was past visiting hours, the nurses let you stay. Staring at the wall, Katsuki thought about the same memory. The two didn't have many interactions, but the ones they did have were small. He had almost forgotten about it until Amari mentioned it just now. She continued then, a finger tracing down the mattresses in memory. You crawled up on bed and we talked for hours and held hands until both of us fell asleep, dreaming about what kind of quirks we would have, what kind of heroes we would be. Funny how things ended up turning out, though. Laughing to herself, the girl sighed then, a hole appearing in her brother's heart at the action. Sorry, you probably don't remember that. I guess I'm just being nostalgic. Suddenly, she felt Katsuki shift his body until he locked eyes, a sad look on his face. How could she even say that? Of course he remembered that. You idiot, your stupid face wouldn't shut up about how much you wanted to be like All Might after that tape, and I told you that we were going to be even better than him, the best of them all. Mari's eyes widened then, remembering his words just as he said them. He did remember. Yeah, the unstoppable Bakugo twins. I always liked the sound of that. She chuckled at the thought before her eyes grew into something more serious. Katsuki, I've already decided I'm going to take the provisional license exam with you in April, and then we can both become real heroes together. Bakugo was certainly surprised at her declaration, knowing what she wanted wasn't going to be easy. She was already far behind as it was, but also knowing her, the boy knew she could do it. I'd like to see that, nerd. Smiling back, she nodded her head at Katsuki, as Katsuki changed the subject then. Mari, is there something you're not telling me? Because if there is, you better spit it out right now. And Mari's face dropped then, thinking about the Chisaki encounter with that little girl, now shivering a little bit. I just ran into something unpleasant today. Her brother didn't feel at ease with that, though, already inching towards her. She looked afraid. What the hell does that mean? Shaking her head, the girl replied, small and quiet, before pointing to the cruel scars on her neck and back. Remember when you saw my scars and I told you that they were from America? Bakugo nodded his head, only for her to look away in shame. Well, a lot of those memories aren't really great, and for a while it was easy just to ignore them, but now it seems that isn't the case. She hugged her body then, a flash of memory coursing through her as Bakugo eyed his sister with concern, now quickly reaching out to touch her for some reason. Mari, what the fuck happened to you back then? As his fingers touched her skin, though, Katsuki's eyes hollowed as she flinched away, her voice echoing back softly. I don't want to talk about it. He pulled back as she took in a shaky breath, her brother now seeing a glimpse of the danger she had suffered. Those bastards in America didn't torture her or something, right? Although with her flinching, those thoughts couldn't help but stick to his mind. Bakugo wanted to pry, but seeing her scared expression made him falter. It seemed she wasn't ready to face this kind of thing yet. Although the worry was making him crazy, the boy was just happy that she wasn't hiding this from him. Hey. Then before Amari to reply, Katsuki wrapped his arms around his sister before giving her a warm hug, her voice squeaking out in surprise. Katsuki, what are you doing? Shaking his head, the boy only mustered back. Shut up, I get it already. You don't have to say anything. Just don't think you can keep this shit to yourself, alright? Taking in his scent, Amari closed her eyes, the warmth of her brother's embrace, before he pulled away a couple minutes later and turned back towards the wall roughly. If you talk about this to anyone, you're dead. She blinked in surprise for a moment before letting her lips curve into a small smile, her body returning back to normal temperature. Hey, Katsuki? Rolling back, the boy angrily muttered back, what is it now? Her voice returned small and unsure. Can we hold hands like back then? Bakugo narrowed his eyes in annoyance before shaking his head, Mari's eyes falling at the idea. Of course he wouldn't want to do that. You're so stupid. Although the girl gasped when he felt her brother's hand intertwine with hers, the boy still facing away from her, though. The contact made her heart pound with joy, squeezing her palm into his before smiling softly to herself. That night, Amari didn't have any nightmares. The next day, Endeavor heard a knock on his office door, and a couple seconds later, it opened to reveal Amari. That was strange. They didn't have a training schedule for today, so he thought he didn't have to see her face. Bakugo, what are you doing here? She silently made her way up to him with a serious expression, eyeing the files of Chisaki on his desk. He must be working on gathering intel. Endeavor, I have a favor to ask. Frowning back, the man didn't get where she was going with this, watching her hands curl into small balls. Although the girl knew exactly what she was doing. If that little girl was truly experiencing the same thing she had as a child, Tamari couldn't let that slide. The look in her eyes back in that alley was so familiar, so haunting to her past. It was like she had to save her. That's when Amari dipped her head into a bow, earning a surprised look from Endeavor. That girl was always so prideful. He had never seen her bow before. His voice rang out, then filled with a newfound determination and absolute intent. Please let me help with the Chisaki case. God, made me cry. How dare you? Okay. I miss reading these stories. I mean, they're hard to read because I have to look straight up and talk, and it hurts, but yeah. That made me cry. Like I was doing with the videos I recorded yesterday, I'm gonna say if today is anyone's birthday, happy birthday. Again, this is gonna be posted September 10th. So, happy birthday to anyone out there. I hope you enjoyed. This was a sad chapter. I mean, it was a happy sad chapter. But yeah, you will hear me in the next video. Bye-bye.